So here we are, No Shame, episode 6 I think we're on now, absolutely flying through them, at the Limor powered studio here at SBG Dublin 24. Thanks to everybody that's been hanging in their questions and listening in and downloads, and everything is going great. It looks like it's a strong podcast to be contended with so far, and we just set it up for a bit of banter because it's a bit of crack to have a chat with somebody. Today we have Paul Dollery here today. Paul Dollery is the first Cork man on the show. I know that he's flying the flag and he will take that back to Cork with him, and that will be in the newspaper, no doubt. First Cork man on No Shame. But I'll let him introduce himself. And anyway, so Paul Dollery has he ghostwrote the world renowned book, Win or Learn, John Kavanaghs book, Win or Learn. He's been reporting on Irish mixed martial arts from their heyday. He's seen it all, and he's probably interviewed me a few times, so it's going to be good to turn the tables and interview you.
Yeah, nice to switch up the dynamic, I suppose. Yeah, it's certainly a pleasure to be the first Cork man on the show anyway. And
we're on the Rebels!
Yeah, we've spoken a good few times over the years.
Definitely.
And nice to change the roles. But yeah, I'm as you said, I last year had the pleasure of writing John Kavanaghs' autobiography with him, which was fantastic. It did really well. Been a sports journalist for over 10 years now, which is crazy. I only realised that a few months back that I've been doing it that long. So
mad how crazy it goes fast, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, over 10 years ago, started back with Red FM in Cork, doing a bit of radio work. And
Red FM is what's the guy's name that's running that?
Rory O'Hagan, maybe.
Rory,
yeah, he's the main
sound,
man.
He is.
He's a good guy. Yeah,
bouncing around, driving through, and they were like, "Paddy Holohan's in Cork," this, and I was like. On the radio.
Yeah, we sat beside each other for a good few years in the office there. Yeah, so 10 years ago that was 2007, and kind of got more into the print side of things then as the years went by. Worked for Cage Warriors, as you know, as well. So here I am now. The last 3 years I've been working for the 42 in Dublin, loving it, and still happy out as a sports journalist.
No, Daddy. So I think the MMA fans are going to be more excited about this one, because this is, I'm going to kind of ask you a few questions about like what your side of it all is. What you're looking at is, who's the biggest bollocks that you've ever met that you've had to smile to?
How long have you got?
How long have you got? That's it. Cork is full of bollocks. So who's winning the Sam next year?
I think it's the Dubs versus everyone else. I think we
have a Mead man over here.
We might get the other 31 counties to put a dream team together and then take on Dublin, and then it might be interesting. But
sure, it's always the other 31 counties against us in any way, isn't it?
That's true, yeah.
Well, you say Mead will never ever win a Sam Maguire.
I would like to dispute that, but realistically I think he might. Forgive me, Biggie Riley is a friend of mine, local man from where I'm from, and he'll probably give me a dig next time I see him.
No, Mead lads are big lads, man. I don't want you to be feeding them up there, but they should be winning it.
Yeah.
They should be winning this.
Can I just clarify that I'm actually from Loud as well?
You're from Loud?
Yeah. For anyone who thinks I'm the Mead man, I'm not a Mead man.
Yeah, don't ever think I'm a Mead man.
Yeah.
So we've Drogheda and Loud in the house, yeah? That's what I'm saying, on the other side.
Well, yeah.
Drogheda as well. I'm from Drogheda as well.
That's
originally.
Like Bloods and Crips stuff, isn't it?
Very much so, yeah.
I've had to stop him from killing Robin a few times. I did. The boys would be killing each other on the way in their door.
Keep it apart, yeah.
So, the idea of sitting down with John, I'll start that and we'll go backwards, yeah, instead of going the other way.
Sure.
So you're sitting down with John. How does it come about that you're going to ghostwrite John Kavanagh's book of the story of the Irish invasion, if you must?
Yeah, well, I suppose I've known John going back to 2011 when I started working with Cage Warriors, and when I started with the 42 and at the start of 2015, John was doing a little column for us on the website, giving his own thoughts on the goings on in MMA and stuff like that. And I was with the editor of the 42, Adrian Russell, at an event in Dublin. It was around May 2015, and John was the speaker. He was doing sort of a Q&A, and it was I spoke to you around then because it was just when you were getting the gym set up as well. And
I apologise for that.
it was House Bar in Leeson Street is where it was.
Oh, right.
John was doing a Q&A there,
yeah.
He was, John, as you know, whenever he speaks, he's very engaging. People are fascinated to listen to what he has to say. And Adrian said to me, he's like, you know what, this guy would write a really, really good book. I'd be very interested, even from a business point of view, as a kind of a business mentor, or just general life advice, his journey. And he always has something interesting to say. He's like, I'd really enjoy reading a book by this guy. He said, you should maybe look into that. And at that point I was thinking, yeah, it's probably something for a good few years down the line when John isn't coaching anymore, when he's an old man, and when he's had a lot more years behind his belt. And I didn't really think any more about it until a few months later when we were in touch with Penguin, the publisher, who eventually put the book out, and they were interested in doing the same. And I remember I spoke to John about it, and John, being as laid back as he is, I said, John, are you interested in a book in your life, an autobiography? And It's like, are you interested in doing that? And he was like, ah, yeah, sounds good. And I was like, this will be a big deal now, John. You know, this could be a massive book, and it could take a long time to do it, and it'll put a lot of work into it. And he's like, yeah, sounds good. Cut me in. Yeah. So we spoke to Penguin.
I'm sure you knew that was going to knock on his door one day, and
yeah,
you usually had the answer made up for it.
Pretty much, yeah. So I mean, I felt like he'd be receptive to it, but he was so laid back that I thought, yeah, let's just do it and see how it goes. And Penguin initially, they were 50-50. They felt that there was a bit of following for John, and that there would be interest in people reading about his life and his journey. And they were kind of coming from a point of view where the only previous combat sport book that they'd done in the past was Bernard Dunn's autobiography.
I've actually read that.
Yeah, it's a really good book. Yeah,
I'm mad about autobiographies. You know that? When I was coming up, I remember reading, like, I read Kenny Egan's book.
Yeah.
I read Uriah Faber's. What's the Carl Pendred's? No, not Carl Pendred. Lookalike.
Randy Couture, yeah.
My name's abilities and names are the worst in the world. Randy Couture's book, loads of books.
Dan Hardy's got a good one out this year as well. Yeah, Dan Hardy's.
I haven't
really
read that one.
Yeah.
I reckon that, and has he got all the part in that, like, where he had to retire from sports and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's really interesting.
And it's up to present date, is it?
Yeah, it only came out in March this year, I think. So it's pretty current. But so Penguin were kind of looking at it. They'd never done an MMA book before, had no idea how it was going to do. So they were comparing it to Bernard Dunn's.
Right.
And, you know, with the greatest of respect to Bernard, I said, look, I don't think Bernard ever had the explosion of popularity that MMA has had in Ireland in the last few years.
I think the difference was that Bernard kind of came up as like a singular rocket, if you must. Like when the Irish thing came up, a lot of rockets came up around.
It was a movement, yeah.
And it was a movement. So I think that might have been the difference. Because people have asked me that question as well. Like, it's the exact same as Bernard Dunn's kind of thing, or like Ricky Hatton or something like that in a way. And I was like, it was a little bit different, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So they decided to go with it from there. They were 50-50, as I said. They weren't really sure how it was going to go.
Penguin's a huge company to be talking to at that stage of it, isn't it?
Yeah, internationally, yeah. To have them on board was huge, and that would have been kind of late summer, coming into the autumn of 2015, and we were trying to get the book off the ground then with John, but as it happened, just as we were going to start, he flew out to Vegas with Conor to prepare for the Aldo fight. So by the time we got started, it would have been early 2016, just after Christmas. Myself and John sat down. It's a series of interviews. You know, I met John in the office, in his office in SPG in Concord. Must have been 20-30 times over the course of that spring, say January to March. We'd sit for hours, just, you know, me interviewing him.
Would these be hour-long sessions, or would you just
hour, 2 hours? Yeah. We'd, as much, like, it was literally fitting him in between John's classes. You know, he'd finish a class, we'd chat for an hour or 2 hours, and he'd go back and do another class. So yeah, I'd go away then home and write down, you know, John's thoughts and kind of put them into his own words then, and how they might be presented in chapter form for the book. Would send in the chapters to Penguin overnight, and some nights, because I was double jobbing, I was doing my own full-time job on top of that as well. I might come home from work in the evening, have my dinner, and then start going back to writing the book. I'd be up all night and then go straight back into work the following morning. Thankfully I didn't do that too many times, but
and Irish MMA, even like journalists down to a lot of the kind of things, they don't get enough credit for a lot of stuff that they have done for as well. Like I know for a fact that you see them driving up and down the country, and sometimes they haven't slept and they haven't done that, and they're reporting on it because it's their passion as well, I think, you know. But it's they don't get enough credits they need. So for times like that, people don't see that. They see that they probably see that you wrote John's book and now you're an absolute multi-millionaire.
Yeah, well, there's people like, well, I dispute that second bit, but hopefully someday. But there's people like, I mean, I would have been, I suppose I was working with cage warriors on the other side of the fence for a long time, but when you look, going back to the point you made there, people like Andrew McGahan, Peter Carroll, like they were literally there from day one, and it's great to see them getting a break, and like Peter and Andrew especially are flying it at the moment, and Severe MMA, like the journey they've been on has been phenomenal. I know they make documentaries themselves. I'd love to see a documentary made on those guys.
They're making documentaries.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. So yeah, I mean, that's another point, that it's great to see them doing so well now too. But like, going back to the book, I suppose, yeah, I mean, it was a great process to do. If that was one lesson that if I did learn from doing a book, if I was to do another one, I'd give myself a bit more time, because we started in early January 2016, and we pretty much had it done by the end of March, which was a pretty quick turnaround.
Wow,
you know,
it's 3 months, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot of work to get done in that space of time, and on top of that, my wife was pregnant with our first child as well. So there was a lot going on.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So I literally got the book done, I think 5 days before the child was born. So thankfully there was no crossover there. It could have been a hectic.
Was there a nice little peaceful moment after your kid was born?
Oh yeah,
that little week after is the best thing ever, isn't it?
Yeah, I took 2 weeks off work, and it was lovely to be able to know that the book was done. I was able to enjoy being in the company of my wife and the first child.
That's kind of like training for a fight in itself, and then you get your little bit of time off, because they had to be intense sessions of like, and as well as chasing John, so you probably would have had to catch John, because John's a busy man, you know what I mean? So you're kind of like trying to slot this all in with all that as well. So when say you're sitting down and like, did you have any arguments?
No, not
20
at all.
hours sitting down, I was just like, I wonder if they have any little tiffs or that. But John's not the kind of the guy to be able to, like, you would have a tiff with, you know?
Yeah. I mean, from my dealings with John, I think he'd be a very difficult guy to find yourself in an argument with. Yeah. He's so laid back, as I said earlier, you know. But no, the whole thing was just really enjoyable. No, it was stressful and it was hard work.
Yeah.
But it was a pleasure to listen to his story and, you know, look where the stature of the man now, and look where he's come from and to where he is now. You know, to have the opportunity to put his story into words was a huge honour, and I really enjoyed doing it. I didn't really think about how the book was going to do at that point. I was just so glad that we had the work done.
Yeah.
And then it was published in June, and the first day it was up on pre-sales on Amazon. It went to #1 on Amazon, and then when it came out and was published in the shops, it was straight to #1, and you know, with bestsellers lists and nominated for Irish Sports Book of the Year. Like I knew the book was going to sell well because of John's popularity. Nothing to do with my own the job I did on the writing,
and the view from the other side of the camera of Conor as well. So people want to see that, you know.
No matter what was in the book, it was going to do well. But it was nice to get the feedback then. You know, there's a lot of tweets you get. You know, John has a huge following on social media, and so, like, you'd be tagged in some of the tweets, and like people look at John as almost like a Dalai Lama type character. People are like tweeting him asking for relationship advice and stuff like that. You know, but yeah, like it was great to see how well it did. You know, as I said, all the, you know, getting to #1 and all that was great, but for me, getting the feedback of how well it did, or how it affected people's lives, and you know how much they enjoyed reading it, that was very satisfying. Yeah.
Would that be kind of like your biggest achievement to date, or your biggest kind of what you would stand behind and say, like, this is my masterpiece of work? That one.
Yeah, it would definitely be the thing I'd be most proud of. Yeah, because if you're anyone who's getting into writing or being a journalist or whatever, you'd always have kind of on the back burner that you're eventually going to want to try and do a book, and hopefully it'll be the first of many that I'll end up doing. But yeah, certainly so far it was the biggest project I've undertaken. I mean, when I was working back with Red FM in Cork, we managed to win a National Radio Award for sports coverage, which was a great thing at the time. But I suppose personally, this was definitely the biggest achievement for me. Yeah.
And did you read? Have you read the book?
Yeah, I read it back. Yeah, and I've read it actually quite recently, and read it with a bit more of a critical eye, and felt, it could have been a bit better there, or maybe we could do something to improve the next one if there is going to be one, which there has been talk of as well, that there might be a sequel at some stage. But yeah, so
Win or Learn 2,
yeah, something along those lines. So yeah, if I think we, you know, what we learned from doing the first one would definitely be beneficial then if we go on and do a sequel. Yeah.
Oh no, definitely. I reckon it would sell as well because of the first one that's gone as well.
Yeah.
So going back down into it then, like, you would have noticed all of us coming up, all as little, like, small. I was small, well, not tall, long, ginger, no beard, and then like Conor coming up, and Cottle and Ash, and like, what was your first kind of initial, like, was it excitement? Was the initial first thing when you seen the rise of, like, say, it started to come up? So when Cage Warriors, when you were working for Cage Warriors, and was it a time in Cork that we would have kind of bumped into you when Conor fought Joe Duffy, was it, and Ash fought was it?
Oh, yeah. What was her name? Was it Molly? Molly something. Yeah. Something or other.
Molly Home, was that something?
Molly Hessel or something. It was. Yeah. I started with Cage Warriors probably a few months after that. So my first event was in Jordan. Actually, it was when Conor fought
the big guy,
the big lad, Aaron Janssen. Yeah. And Ash came in on a few days' notice and beat someone in about 20 seconds.
In a minute,
yeah. And Cahill was on that show as well. So that would have been my first kind of direct interaction with people from SBG and stuff like that. And there definitely was, I mean, it's easy to say in hindsight that you knew something was going to happen with these guys, but there was a feeling that, you know, obviously Conor was a standout guy and you could tell that he had something different about him, but there was definitely a feeling, and John was there as well, that these guys were coming up and that they had massive potential, and that only increased as the years went by. I remember speaking to Cahill for an interview, I think it was around the end of 2011, and we were having the conversation that MMA is going to get big in this country. And again, it's easy to be an expert in hindsight, but the big selling point obviously was that you had one star and then several other really good fighters behind that, like that it wasn't just one guy, it was a crop of talent there. Kind of, you know, one massive ambassador. And my point that I was making the call was that in this country, you know, we're such a small country, we don't have that many athletes who are the best in the world at anything.
Yeah, well, I remember actually hearing Dana White saying when Conor got signed that him signing Conor was the equivalent of him signing BJ Penn in Hawaii at the start. And I'd love to see what his view was on that.
Yeah.
Now, you got to look as in like where Ireland is now a hotbed for talent, you know. So I would love to see. I'd love to hear him answer that question again. You know, Dana, it'd probably be absolutely total opposite. No one ever said that.
Exactly. Yeah. But the point being, I guess, that you know, in this country, whenever we do have someone successful to cling on to, we go with it, and the bandwagon takes off. Like since last year, everyone in Ireland has been an expert in rowing. All of a sudden, now,
we were only having that conversation. We were saying if you stuck an Ireland flag on the back of a snail and a number, Irish people would be about 7:30 in the morning to cheer them on.
That's it. Yeah.
That's the great thing about the Irish fans. They are the best fans in the world. Like you're a mad football fan as well. Now I'm a football fan, but I'm probably not in depth to what's going on in the game and stuff like that. But what I did love, the last thing I did love about football was the Irish fans at the Euros.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. Like that showed us what the best fans in the world are about. And not only that, an example of like what fans should be like, you know.
Yeah.
You know, singing the baby asleep.
This man was over there.
Were you over there, right?
Yeah.
Were you part of that pussy?
No, I wish. No.
Hooligan, you.
Yeah.
You got arrested.
We'll talk about that another time.
No, we're talking about that. You got arrested.
No, he just made that up.
This is dodgy.
I wish I had a cool story. No.
Yeah,
no.
they're phenomenal. I was over in Cardiff and Copenhagen for the last couple of games against Wales and Denmark, and like the numbers they travel in are just phenomenal, and the appetite just for the occasion. And you know, you will have one or two will always overstep the mark.
Of course,
There was a couple of incidents in Copenhagen city centre and on the Saturday afternoon.
Probably over the price of beer.
Probably over the price of beer. Yeah.
It's like €19 for a pint or something.
Yeah,
mad money.
This is around lunchtime on a Saturday afternoon in the game, and it wasn't kicking off until 9 p.m. It's like, lads, pace yourselves, you know. But they're great. Yeah, I mean the colour they bring to these cities, and like the atmosphere is incredible, and it does it transfers over to other sports then. Like it's been the same for MMA when you go to Vegas for the big fights Conor had and stuff like that. It's incredible. Yeah,
the Mayweather one, like I literally Chelsea, I was on my way over to Vegas, and the guy that was going with me didn't get to go, and anyway, not for any terrible reasons, we just didn't get to go. So I ended up in Vegas on my own for the Mayweather fight with 2 Mayweather tickets. So I ended up bringing my girlfriend in Chelsea and saying, come on over. So I flew her over, and the day she was on her way over, we ended up going to the weigh-in, and I ended up just getting caught in this little wave of Irish fans, you know what I mean? And I was on the session before I knew it. I seen your man that was, you know, the banjo, going down on the going out, stood up on a bench. Hey, yo, you were singing a song. Before we knew it, we had your man up on a bench outside a pub in the middle of Vegas somewhere. No sun cream or that, and roasting out it was. And he's banging along with "There's only one Conor McGregor," and there's that. And it was just, I remember just taking a little moment of being like, this is brilliant. When I was fighting on the Dublin card, I remember someone asked me like, what's like kind of, have you any regrets about taking this fight on this notice or taking this jump? And I was like, one of the biggest regrets is that I'm not going to be sitting in the crowd with all of these guys cheering on. Like I'd love to be able to go back and do that, because, you know, like that's like one of the nights in Irish sports that like when we beat Italy. Yeah, you know what I mean. That time, or when we beat England, maybe not the England one. That was big one.
That was big.
That was big. That was big. You know what I mean? But like that kind of moment, that to see to be able to enjoy it with the Irish fans, I was a little bit jealous. I was of them doing it and us having to be kind of at work now. Now after the fight, I was up in the stands, necking beers with me mates, and I actually had tickets for that. Do you know that? Yeah. I remember the time coming down in the square, coming down the elevator, and I had UFC sold out over Ticketmaster, and I remember being like, wow, that's mental. And I hadn't, like, this was about 9 weeks from the show, and I got signed for about 6 weeks from the show. So I had tickets, literally, the 2 tickets that I had, I ended up having to give them away with the tickets that I got as well, because tickets were gold, absolute gold, weren't they? Yeah. So they bringing me the tickets there. So tickets for the football matches away. Do you think most of the guys end up just in the boozer getting pissed because the tickets are so hard to come by now?
I don't know. I mean, you when you go away with the Ireland games, as I said, the last couple I did in Wales and Denmark, the large percentage of people who go away are die-hard Ireland fans who go to every game. Yeah. I would say about 75% of the people you see on those trips are all over Europe with the team, and it's phenomenal the support that they give the team. You get probably the rest then they go as a one-off, and for them it's probably more of a booze up and for the crack than anything else. But certainly the vast majority of Ireland fans that I've seen who go abroad with the team, they just absolutely love the Irish football team, and it's all about supporting the team and getting behind them and trying to cheer them on to the Euros or the World Cup. Unfortunately, it didn't work out the last time, but yeah, it's the phenomenal support they get. It's unreal.
They don't mess around, do they?
No,
so
they certainly don't.
What were your views on I'd say you were crazy busy when the Mayweather fight and stuff like that was getting announced, so you would have been scurrying left, right, and
yeah. I didn't go over for that one actually. Funnily enough, I went over for all of Connor's previous ones in Vegas, the MMA fights, and the Mayweather fight just didn't kind of capture my imagination the same way the UFC fights did. You know, I didn't get behind it as much, I guess. But similar enough, even looking at the coverage on the website that we have, it didn't bring in the readers as much as Connor's UFC fights has done, which surprised me initially. Actually, yeah, I thought that certainly it would still get people's attention. No, there was still massive interest, but I mean, Connor's fights going back to Chad Mendes, Aldo, the traffic on the website was just phenomenal.
Oh, it's mental.
Yeah.
You can even see it. Anybody that Conor puts his name beside that, and it's gold. You know what I mean? It's and fair deals to him, he earned it as well.
Absolutely,
but,
yeah.
The idea of you like looking in at that whole situation, and now we're hearing that like Mayweather is talking about this $1 billion deal with the UFC, and like not that like people say, oh, it's gone too far if they did a second boxing fight. But I'll be all over an MMA fight, would you?
I'd be interested to see it,
I would love to see it.
Yeah, purely to see how Mayweather would handle himself more than anything else.
I'd be butchered.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But now, and then again, the other side of me says, because I was thinking of this morning, when I was reading the article again this morning, and you don't know what to be believing these days as well. There's so much going around. Like, Floyd Mayweather saying that he would get into an octagon and he would do it, like, now, for billions of dollars, like, you're talking... That's a whole new game for him to be learning, and I don't think he'd be up. Like, he's definitely not going to get up fight Conor.
No, I wouldn't think so. Yeah, he'd probably want to ease himself in, but I don't see it happening personally. I think, you know, who has that amount of money to give to Mayweather and for an MMA fight? Would it generate that much in pay-per-view to give him that much money to, you know, you're talking billions? I don't know if that kind of money is there.
They should just withdraw it out of his own account and give it back to him.
Give it back to him, yeah.
So the whole Aaron Chambers thing going on. So you would be an MMA, you would protect the sport, I said, as I would. Now, I'll give you my view on it now. Like, I think the whole thing with Aaron Chambers fighting in MMA, I think it's good for MMA. I think it's bringing a lot of eyes into MMA. I think on the other side of it, a lot of people are thinking, like, he is getting. Let's not beat around the bush. He is fighting bums. That is true. Now, he didn't fight an amateur career. He said, I'm only going to do a professional career, but he's kind of fighting an amateur career because that's how you would start off. And anyway, but now the thing about it is, he's in a situation now, from my point of view, of where he's 3-0, and you have guys like now that if we were to be matching guys by numbers and records, we're looking at guys like Richie Smullen, we're looking at guys like Rhys McKay. You're looking at guys like if you wanted to Keane Cowley, on paper, Aaron Chalmers is too big of a matchup for Keane Cowley. Like, Keane Cowley would be 0-1, and Aaron Chalmers is 0-3, so or 3-0. So to me, I have nothing against the guy doing what he's doing. I didn't agree with the thought we put up with all the money because I think it's misleading as well. Makes a lot of people want to leave school and there's loads of money in that game, and there isn't. It's absolutely peanuts in it, especially for guys. Now, he does bring a lot to the table. He brings loads to the table. He brings lots of numbers. He brings viewers. He brings a new audience. He has a knockout with a left hand, a right hand. He has a submission. On paper, you're saying to yourself, this guy is like. But then I've seen people saying like, Aaron Chalmers is working his way up to fight Conor McGregor. Now, I'd like to see his face when he's reading this stuff. Like, it's like saying, hey, I'd bash that bully after school, and then all of a sudden the guy hears about it and you now have to fight him after school. To me, I think that's going to be the situation where he's going to build himself into a situation that he's probably not ready for, where he could be a really, really, really good fighter. Yeah. I think if he actually put 5-6 years into learning his jiu-jitsu, learning his wrestling, learning his striking, and then fighting somebody. I really believe he has to fight somebody that has fought somebody and won the next time. Yeah. What's your view on the whole situation?
Well, that's the thing. As you said, he's 3-0 now, so if you're going to match him based on his record, you're putting him in with people like you mentioned, Richie Smullen and stuff like that. And that, to me, is dangerous.
Dangerous.
Because Richie
That's what I
Smullen
think, so-
devours someone like that.
Devour him.
So you kind of have to tread carefully there. First thing I would say is I have absolutely huge respect for Aaron Chalmers or anybody who steps into the cage, because before you even get into the cage to fight a bum or whoever it might be, it's a huge challenge to get there, to come through a training camp, to have the bottle and the mental strength to, you know, deal with the pre-fight nerves and stepping out in front of a crowd and putting yourself on the line like that. That's not an easy thing to do. And I never fought MMA, but whenever I thought about, you know, if I could have done it, that's always the part that would have kind of intimidated me a bit more, is actually the tension and the build up and actually, you know, getting there. I think once you get in there, you probably, you know, there's probably a perverted satisfaction in taking a few slaps, you know.
There actually is.
Yeah. But, you know, I have huge respect for him, and I understand the anger of other fighters who are maybe struggling on the regional scene, maybe haven't been paid for some fights by certain promotions, and they're looking at photos of this guy, you know, putting up pictures of money on social media, which isn't great. But yeah, that would be the one concern I'd have, is that, you know, he would end up fighting someone that's probably, you know, that he's overmatched with. But I'm sure that won't happen. That, you know, it'll be kind of they'll tread carefully with that. But yeah, it does bring new eyes to MMA, and I accept that argument. And the more new fans you can get for the sport, the better. But the other side of that then is, at what cost? You know, does it give a perception that any fool can walk in off the street, train for a couple of months, and, you know, make an impression in MMA? And that's not the case, because as you know, to get to the top, it takes years and years of sacrifice and cutting everything else out of your life and purely focusing on MMA for years and years to get to that level. So it's important that people don't come under the impression that MMA is an easy sport to be successful in, and that it's a bit of a joke, because it's certainly not. But I wish him luck. I have no ill will against the guy at all, and again, I say I have massive respect for anyone who steps in there, but I hope it doesn't become a bit of a joke shop and a bit of a sideshow, and that they manage the situation properly, you know.
No, definitely. And I've had a conversation with a few, like my own mates and stuff like that, and like I've met Aaron, and he's sound. I think he's alright. He's a lad now. To be honest, like when I would have probably seen him on the telly, I would have known, like,
yeah,
these lads are dickheads, you know what I mean? Like, but like, they're laying on a lot of money and doing what they're doing. I think they're a little bit more mature now on the Geordie Shore scene of it. Now, I'm saying I don't watch Geordie Shore and that like that, but my game when I was watching, I just happened to see it.
You're found out here, no, Paddy.
Yeah. More fake news.
Oh yeah, more fake news. Yeah. Now, but I have to say, there's a few times on that where I've seen him handling it himself, where I probably would have lost the head. You know what I mean? But if he's going into fight guys, he has to be now going into fight guys that he knows, like this guy's going to be like. I didn't know a lot about his own other opponents, but it was only when I was reading online, because you couldn't deny it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This guy is obviously a journeyman, you know. Like, and have you ever seen that documentary about journeymen?
No.
It's very good. You seen it? It's about guys in England, like, and boxers that literally go out every week to get like 200 quid, and they just fight, and their records are like awful. Like, they're like 4 and 52, and you know, like this. But that's what they do. They don't go out to win.
It's
they
their
go
job,
out. That's their job. That's, and they say it in it. It's my job to be a journeyman. This is what I do, and it's actually a great documentary to look at. So I think that it needs to be matched now with a guy that, when Aaron gets called with his name, the guy that gets called with him has to be so, oh yeah, I know where that guy is. He fights out of this gym, he fights out of that, and I think, you know what? I think that's what he wants as well. I think that's what he wants.
Yeah.
He wants a knock. He looks ready for it.
Yeah.
Like, he's only been in there for like 3 minutes in total. Do you know what I mean?
And best of luck to him. You know, I've spoken to so many fighters over the years, and something they mentioned in terms of like the challenges of being an MMA fighter is making that walk, the intimidation factor of actually walking from that changing room out to an arena to fight in the cage. It must be terrifying for some people. So if anyone who does that has my respect. So best of luck to him.
I do say that people who say, I'm entitled to my opinion online, and I say, no, you're not, unless you've stepped into that cage. And even guys that I'd be like fighting that for myself, that say if they've lost, and I say, no matter what happened there tonight, you are now entitled to your opinion online about this or on that, because that is the situation where most people, they talk so much shit, you know. Like, and like Conor gets so much of it, you know what I mean, from guys. I think they must have a little country somewhere where they literally just, that's all they do, you know.
It's the one bad side of social media, is that it has given people access to, you know, celebrities and professional sports people, and they subsequently abuse that, which is a shame, you know.
Definitely. Like, I don't need to use my Facebook or anything anymore because of that, you know, because for a long time. And like, I mean, you get mad shit going down. Like, I've had people saying bad things about my young fella and stuff like that online, and it's like, like, how weird do you have to be to insult? Like, I could never see a time where I would insult someone's
that's twisted stuff, really.
100%. And the thing is, the same guys will be the guys running up to you to get a picture out of the show. Like, the amount of people have got pictures with me, and then I've watched them talking shit about you online. You're like, oh, what a cunt, you know what I mean? It doesn't affect me. Let them know. I'm laughing my ass off that. Like, there was a time when I make weight, that's the worst time. When I used to make weight, I used to get awful abuse. People used to be like, look at Connor's crackhead cousin and all this. And like, I remember sitting at home, literally nearly wetting myself one time reading. And Chelsea was sitting beside me, and she was like, she was so sad. She was like, I can't believe they're saying that about you. And I was literally... One guy said, I think this was the one that I was on the floor laughing with, it looks like anorexic gay porn.
There's a market for that, I'd say, you know?
Oh, I know. That's what I was thinking. Could be onto something. Could be onto something. I could be a star. No, but... Some mad shit. Do you have to? Do you get mad shit on your stuff? Because when you write something, say, about Connor, if you write something about... If you said that you thought Aaron deserved to be where he was today, like, straight away someone's not saying, Paul, I disagree with you. Like, Paul, you can't, you cunt bastard. You say that again. Like, but that's...
What I get would be very, very small compared to what the likes of yourself and other people that more in the spotlight would get, I'd say, you know. It's
disappointing to hear that now.
You get the odd email, alright. Yeah, like the most I actually got was only a few months back when obviously Connor had a bit of trouble with when he was over in Poland with Artem, and used a word that he probably shouldn't have used, and I wrote an article about that and said that Connor maybe should be a bit of more of a role model and kind of appreciating his position. And Connor's fans are fairly passionate and they're quite devoted, and they let me know that anyway in no uncertain terms online and in emails and social media and stuff afterwards. But apart from that, I get away with murder, really. It's easy being a journalist. You just
because what I've said crazy. I've said like imagine being somebody like, no, I wouldn't even consider myself. People say like they put on the door, at Bama when you're working for the talent. I feel like going after the fighters and sticking it on their door, you know what I mean? Because nobody in that place that's not getting into that cage should be called talent. And you know what I mean? And the sad thing is, that's the way it's kind of viewed, I think, across a lot of the MMA world, I'd love to be able to... I'm about to lose my train of thought there. Where am I going again? Talent. The talent on the doors. The idea of when people are going into these stadiums that are younger fighters and stuff like that, and they're going in, they should be treated right from the start as this professional level all the time, where you can't separate the amateurs from the pros, because they don't do it in like any other sport. Like, you don't come in and treat an amateur football team different than you probably treat the professional team, rather than paying and stuff like that. But respect wise and gear wise and stuff like that. So the idea of looking after the sport, I'm for that, you know what I mean?
It still has a long way to go, really, doesn't it, when you see the effort that, certainly on the regional scene, that young MMA fighters put in. It's a full-time effort, and obviously for the vast majority of them, the financial rewards don't justify that just yet, but that's the dream, isn't it, that they'll eventually get to a place where it does justify itself. And you can only hope that with the popularity of the sport increasing, that it is going to improve for more and more guys. But it's a tough route, definitely. So
with the IMMF and stuff like that, like definitely some of them, like a lot of people won't realise that like we have already got athletes going to the European Champions and the World Championships, and most of it is funded off like the back of like charities, if you must, and sponsorships and businesses, and nothing to do with their sports council, nothing to do with anything like that, which is terrible. It really is.
Yeah, hopefully that'll change. I know they're working behind the scenes.
That's going on now.
Like I know you had her on a few weeks ago, Danny Nealon. Out in Bahrain. I had the pleasure of interviewing her when she came back only 3 or 4 days ago, or after she came back, and her face was just destroyed for having fought 4 times in a week. It's just an incredible effort, and she's amazing. I think her story is so inspiring. The extent to which she picked up the ball and ran with it when it came to MMA, and she really embraced the challenge. And I that's one of the great things about being in my job as a sports journalist, is that you so often you get to meet very inspiring people who've got incredible stories, and hers is definitely one that stood out for me over the last few months.
Me too.
I think she's brilliant, and I really wish her luck going forward.
And she's somebody that you wouldn't expect to be a fighter, and 4 fights in a week is more than some people have in their life. How many fights have you had in your life, Shane?
Oh, like cage fights?
No, proper fights, just fights.
She's probably having proper ones, probably around that,
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Yeah, say, Robin.
0. And I want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
What do you know about yourself? You've never been in a fight.
Yeah.
They say, no, but
Yeah.
4 fights in a week, like, and to not even be like, I think people get the perception that you're a you do it like you're a multi-millionaire. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah.
when you fight in the UFC, when you wrote John's book, John having his book, being
Yeah.
Connor's coach, and it becomes a perception that it's easy money in MMA.
That's it. Yeah.
It's definitely not easy money.
Yeah.
Going back to the thing that you said about people developing, and I think that is becoming a thing in MMA where, and now I understand, and I won't hate on anybody. I'll never hate on anybody for getting paid. I'm all about getting paid, getting money. If the idea is though that the whole show is being built on the back of something that real fans know is like, I know skill sets, I know fighters, I know development, I know the history. You know what I mean? It's very hard to sit back and not say anything, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you're a journalist, which like I have the right to be able to. I can say what I want in any way, but like with you, it's your job to say it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
hard? Is it?
Nah, not really. I mean, you know,
To not offend anybody. You know what I mean? Is it hard not to be honest and not offend somebody?
no, I don't think it is, because if you get into this job, you have to have a thick skin, and you have to, like, honesty is the core principle of being a journalist, and if you abandon that, then you shouldn't be in the job, you know. And you'll end up contradicting yourself anyway, and you'll trip yourself up some further down the line, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, honesty is definitely the core principle, and that takes a while to learn too, you know. Like as I said, I've been doing this for 10 years, and eventually you realise that if you're in this job just to please people and to get along with people, then you're not going to go very far. You're eventually going to come into conflict with some people. I haven't really fallen out with that many people over the years. A couple I have done alright, you know, which is a shame. And you know, people, while they respect that you have a job to do, I suppose your approach and your standpoint contrasts with theirs, you know, and that happens. But thankfully I've never slandered anyone or libelled anyone yet, you know, so I'm doing all right in that front. But yeah, it can be challenging, but you know, I wouldn't say it's tough. It's part of the job, and if you find it difficult, then you should probably be working somewhere else.
You should probably not be doing that.
Yeah.
No, because like sometimes I want to comment on things and I'm like, just don't, Paddy. You know, the inner you tells you don't. Where you with your job, you know what I mean, as you're pushing it forward. And as I said, I take nothing away from nobody. I hate on nobody, but I do. I seen like say going back to that. I don't want to make this whole thing about Aaron Chalmers. Like, but I seen Paddy Pimblett text him and tweeted him on it and saying, like, kind of pulled him up on it, saying, guys out of my gym have been training for 8 years and are probably still just about to make a professional. Have never seen that kind of money, and they would be very much cage warrior guys as well. Now, unless I would be a fan of Paddy Pimblett as well. I'd be a fan of with Chris Fishgold and stuff like that. But the thing I didn't like about that situation was, like, they had the opportunity, didn't they? Did they not have the opportunity to move to a bigger promotion, and they stayed because of the cash? Yeah,
and like on top of that as well, I mean, that if there's guys in their gym who would like to be earning that kind of money and aren't, that's not Aaron Chalmers' problem, you know. That's not his problem.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, there's guys in that gym and they're doing very well, you know. Paddy and all the next gen guys there, you know, they've got great potential, and they're fortunate to be in one of the best gyms in the UK.
And
there,
their
you
coach Paul Limor is an absolute gentleman. Absolute gentleman. I went and trained over there with Rosie Sexton and Ash when she was training for a fight, and
Danny Roberts was there before as well.
Like they treated me like one of their own. Paul Limor is an absolute gent.
Yeah, and I understand where they're coming from. I know it must be really frustrating when you're slogging it out, and then you see this picture of a guy swimming in money online, and I'm sure it can be really annoying if you're training hard and that's what you see. But again, it's not Aaron's problem, you know. He's worked himself into that situation. He's gotten himself into that contract with Bama, and good luck to him. You know, he can only look after himself.
Do you feel like it's responsibility for guys that would be like, say, senior in the game to look after this, to police this now? Like, can this become like, you know what I'm saying? Is what's your woman's name? Jordan. Is she coming back for an MMA fight? You know, like, do you know what I'm saying? Because MMA is popular, and it is like, like if you get in there, I've done something that nobody else has done, and like you just have to look at social media. People will do anything for likes, anything for follows, anything for all of this stuff that really doesn't even matter. You know, I actually started watching a documentary last night, and it was very good. Can't remember what it was called. Oh, it's called Unibomber. Have you
No.
watched it?
No.
It's about a guy that sends, like, it's a true story as well. It's about a guy that sends post bombs. So he sends parcel bombs to people, right? Now he's like, for 17 years he's been doing this, sending them, but he doesn't. Like, he's a really educated guy. he's trying to hit targets. It's not like the police think he's trying to hit people. Now, I'm only a few episodes in, but he says something about it. He says, I'm free. And the part that he goes on about a traffic light, and he goes, the policeman that's tracking him down, alright, this guy's just sending things, they pull out the things and it blows up, and it can be police officers, it can be Christians, it can be all sorts of things, different targets, but they're all random, as they say. And this guy comes in as the investigator and he's like, no, they're not random. They cannot be random. This is why he's so smart, he thinks so different to everybody else. And he starts kind of falling on the side of the Unabomber. The Unabomber is bombing people and bombing things because he's saying that the world got stolen from us, that we're now controlled, we're all robots. And the guy says, I didn't understand, and he writes this kind of like big thing and posts it to them of like, this is the future and this is what we're going to do to change it. And the police and all are freaking out and they're not reading it, but the guy's like, you need to read this is important. Turns out that the guy realises and he connects with the Unabomber. He's driving down the road and there's nobody else anywhere else, and a red light is there, and he stops at it and he says, it was only then I realised that I don't own myself, I don't control myself, I'm controlled by stop, go. And he said it was the traffic light system that kind of showed him in that way, you know what I mean? And it's, I don't even know how we got onto this live, but look, absolutely amazing. I was up till 5 o'clock this morning and watching it, like, but this guy is the Don Juan of making bombs. And then, you want to check him out. If you haven't seen that Unabomber, I'd try it.
I hope he's not living in Cork, is he?
Oh jeez, I'd say so. I say there's a few bombers living in Cork there. From the 80s. No, so Anchorman.
Right, I do, yeah.
Is this your life?
No, far off it, yeah.
Is that just on the telly?
Although I wouldn't mind one of those burgundy suits. I think I pulled that off well, yeah.
It was when you were coming in, I don't know why, but Anchorman popped into my head. I love that film.
Yeah. Unique New York.
I was thinking you and Severe MMA pulling up in vans beside each other, jumping out. Andrew McGathan doing a front tumbled side kick, you know.
That's definitely Andrew McGahan's role. I'm not the on-screen talent. Not a chance.
She's with MacLife now, anyway, isn't he?
MacLife, yeah.
Oh, Andrew.
Yeah.
I'd probably just storing up some stuff to know. I know that, like as you said, Andrew, Petey, no offence to anybody, but Petey would be my favourite journalist. I love Petey. I was walking out in Canada and Petey was at the table and he was kind of on his own, and I walked straight up to him on the walk out and shook his hand and he said, Paddy, I'm not messing, I wet myself a little bit. I whittled a little. Everyone looked at me like I was the Don Juan, and I was like, Petey, you were the only fella I knew in a room full of strangers, and I was scared. That handshake was saying, if it kicks off, we're together, yeah. He didn't realise that though, because so had it kicked off, Peachy would have probably legged it or recorded it and tweeted about it.
Yeah. He's a great lad. We've had some great times over in Vegas with Connor's fights and stuff like that. He's brilliant company, and he's going back to what we were saying earlier. You know, he started from scratch, probably had no idea where this journey was going to take him, and now he's the #1 MMA journalist in this country, and he's, you know, churning stuff out for MMAfighting.com every day, which is, it's the ideal role for him, I think, and it's great to see it going so well for him.
And he was telling me that, like, I don't know, announcers, but he was thinking of coming to it. It was getting very, very hard to financially do this game, you know what I mean? Because as I said, a lot of the Irish MMA journalists, people don't realise that, going back on the idea of, it takes a lot to become an MMA fighter. It takes more than just, like, you join a gym and then 6 months later the stage is set and you're ready to go. It just does not work like that. The foundation has to be put there. It's like building bricks on muck. It will come down. It might stand for a few days, few years, months, but it's definitely coming down. That's the trick for it. So same idea with the Irish media, MMA media.
The only surprising thing there was that MMA fighting took so long to give him that job. Like when they realised obviously that the biggest fighter in MMA was Irish, they should have had a guy in Ireland straight away. So, but it's great to see him flying it now. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. He's flying the flag. So, now shame question: if you had to fight somebody in Irish MMA, if it was you in an Anchorman situation, who would you fight?
Definitely Neil Seary.
Neil Seary?
Definitely Neil Seary, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, he kicked my ass, but at least be a Cork
Dublin
thing.
Once, was you?
The Cork Dublin thing will get me riled up, at least I'd be motivated by that. I'd probably get the best out of myself.
Stories of Neil Seary abusing you? Because I'm sure there's one of them.
There was years where that man tormented me online.
We actually have to get Neil Seary on this, that'd be deadly.
He's essential, he's brilliant. I love him to bits, but he tormented me online for years. Just the Cork thing. Whenever Cork would lose a match, I'd have a tweet straight away from Seary, taunting me. But he's brilliant. We had the last interview I did with him was probably a couple of years ago. It was after he got the fight of the night bonus, in after UFC Dublin, and I met him up in Team Rhino just to do a standard interview. You know, thought it was going to be a 10-minute job, and he finished up teaching a class. He was like, "Oh, look, it was, you know, he was taking a couple of weeks off the kind of training and stuff, so he was allowing himself a few beers and a bit of nice food and stuff like that." And he said, "Look, I don't want to do the interview here. Let's go down the local," because he wanted to go down and watch the Liverpool match and have a couple of pints. So I went down to his local in Finglas, the Cardiff. Myself and Siri had a couple of pints there and did the interview.
He must have gave you a pass, did he?
Oh yeah, like I was kind of nervous going in there. I was like, will they mind the Cork accent in here? No, he was like, just keep it down.
That was like the jockey you would say of Shameless. But I got one of them pubs up my way as well. They're the best pubs ever.
Brilliant spot, yeah. We ended up coming out there about 1 a.m. Got some great stories out of Siri. The more Guinness that was poured into him, you know. So
just pouring it into him.
Yeah.
Paul was standing there on his lap just pouring points of it down into him.
And then at the end of the night I'm standing outside this pub and like no idea where I was, being the culture that I am, and he went off home and he's like, "Right, get yourself a cab there." So thankfully I wasn't waiting too long, but it could have been dodgy territory there.
Have you staying in Dublin?
I was living in Dublin at the time, yeah. I was living down South Dublin though, so it was a bit of a trek for me, but I got home in one piece, thankfully. Yeah.
You might never be able to go home after this, and it might be obvious, but it might not be obvious.
Yeah.
Dublin or Cork?
Cork all the way.
Come Cork. On. So where would you live if you had the chance? You'd live in Cork, yeah? Or if you had the choice?
Of course, yeah. The real capital. They're my people down here, like.
Boys.
I will say that I was when I was growing up, I always said, why would anyone leave Cork? Like, you have everything here, you know. Can you imagine that small-minded attitude to have? And when it was my wife at the time, or my wife now, she was my girlfriend at the time. She moved to London in 2011. And I said, Ash, look, I'll go over with you and see how we get on. We ended up staying there for 4 years, and we came back. We ended up going to Dublin for the couple of years as it was, and I always said to people, I'd never live in Dublin, couldn't live up there with all those dubs. And the one thing I would say is that I enjoyed it a lot more.
With 10,000 Neil series.
Yeah. But no, I actually loved living in Dublin. It's you know, it's not as good as Cork, but it's not bad.
I'd be staying in Cork myself. So what part of Cork are you from? You're not from Knocker or the Glen or anything, are you?
No, I'm from the south side, Blackrock.
So it's the same way Blackrock is over here?
Not really. I should be honest, I grew up in Mahon, which is the neighbouring parish, which would be a tough enough parish. And then
what would be a view on Knocker or the Glen or all these mad places?
Fine spots.
Mad spots, aren't they?
Great spots, yeah. Honest people come out of there, you know, definitely.
I'd be down a few of them. Like, I'd have mates down there as well. I would do you remember the time Des Bishop went down?
I do, yeah. He did the show, yeah.
What a show.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? No. He goes down and he does like a comedy gig, but he does it in, I think it's the Glen or something he does it.
I think so, yeah.
The Glen, you have to watch his Des Bishop's like the comedian. He goes down to make a comedian within 6 weeks or something like that. And he does like workshops with them, and he's in these mad housing estates. He does one on Ballymun and all he does. And the boys are like, "Come on out to the flat, me showed you loads of mad shit we will." And he comes over and they have like chainsaws and all that, cutting the doors down, you know what I mean? And your man's like, he's like, I'm in a little room, Des Bishop's saying, like, these guys have chainsaws and they're spinning them around and all. And he's like, when I'm leaving, I'm like, can I go? And he leaves and he's like, come back tomorrow, Des, we'll show you more mad shit. But down in Cork, they're flying around on scramblers in the fields, like in Knocker would be like a council estate. And he said, I bet you the kids down here, when you ask them about childhood sound, they're trying to
you see, my boss is actually from the Glen in the 42, so I have to say good things about it. But when we stop here, I'll tell you my honest opinion.
Yeah. Cover the mics, we get there.
Yeah.
No, but places like that, to me, are the fruit of the earth. We have a guy coming in, I was telling Shane about him. His name's Willie White. He does a comedy. He's a comedian around here. And I remember, he's from Ballymun. Man, you want to check this guy out. It was the funniest thing ever. First time I met him, he's like, I live in a penthouse, I do, top floor, Ballymun Tower. You know what I mean? But like, ever since then, I've seen him loads of times, but I got on to him about coming in. Normal Dublin lad, but from a housing estate like this. And one of the biggest things that people are getting back to me on the podcast with Roddy was like, when these were kids, you know what I mean? Like, I brought everything back. We remember robbing horses, Paddy.
Actually, on the topic of, we were talking earlier on about ghostwriting autobiographies and talking there about Ballymun. My colleague Niall Kelly in the 42 actually ghost wrote Philly McMahon's book this year, which has won all the Sports Book of the Year awards, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's not even a sports autobiography as such. It's the story of his. I'm sure a lot of the listeners will be aware, his brother John, who actually died as a result of heroin abuse a few years back, and it's an incredible story. I mean, the book is absolutely phenomenal. I'd recommend it to anyone, not even who has an interest in sport, but just in life in general. really incredible story, like heartbreaking stuff, and it's definitely worth the read, you know.
No, 100. Like art like that. As I said, autobiographies are so great because you only get to see what someone's on the outside. But like I'd love in the future to sit down and write my biography, and I know that would be people like after, like people like, oh, Paddy's out straight, Paddy would say things, but then they'd hear some things and they'd see some things and they'd be like, shit, I never knew that about him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because there's only some stuff that you can stick in a book,
yeah,
that you just cannot say, because it's, I think to a book, when you're sitting down doing it, you're talking to yourself out loud, and it's not like telling somebody, because yourself stops you from telling some things about your life.
Yeah, and it's your life story as well, so you have to do justice to your own life story. You can't hold things back. You know?
You can't. Like, the idea was, I think you probably get the chance to write that part of it once, and it has to, like, I'd write my autobiography for myself rather than anybody else. You know, I'd love to sit down, and when I read John's, I was like, oh, like, I'd love to do something like this. You know, this is like the idea of telling people about like what it was like growing up in like in really like in Jobstown, and in depth of like people that were there, people that are people who they are now, and people would make the connections, and it's just, it'd be a mad little situation. But it's one of them things, I think, if you get an autobiography, it's like it's one of your like biggest honours, I'd say, in life, because someone's asking you to tell your story of their life, and most people start telling the story of their life and people are like, and they just stop fucking listening. No, unless it's interesting, unless it's really interesting.
Well, it's a great opportunity as well to let people know who you really are. Obviously, someone like yourself would have huge interest globally from your career, but you know, realistically, how many people actually know who you are?
Exactly.
You know, and you know, there's so many times where I've read a sports autobiography in particular where I've changed my opinion that I initially had of that person, you know. So it's huge. It's a great platform for that. And, oh, well, mainly good, but you know, there's times when it goes in the other direction as well. But it's just about giving an honest appraisal of yourself and an honest depiction of who you are, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's kind of the manual to you, to how you got to where you are, you know.
Yeah.
And on there, Robin.
Yeah, we'll take a couple of Limor questions first from last week.
The Limor app. So if you haven't downloaded the Limor app, download the Limor app. Follow Paddy Holohan, and then you can voice comment on what question you want to ask next week, and we'll play a comment and we'll try to answer it as best. But listen, only good comments. Bad comments just get deleted. We don't play them.
Which leads me to my next.
Now, we're not saying no banter. We're not saying no banter. You can say what you want.
So this first one is from the Irish Viking. I'm going to be honest, it's not the most riveting comment in the world, but we'll play it nonetheless.
Riveting. I love that word.
Hi Paddy, Simon Monaghan here, listening all the way from Gloucester, the United Kingdom. My question is, will you be eating Brussels sprouts or not eating Brussels sprouts this Christmas Day with your Christmas dinner? Just want to say a big happy Christmas to you and the rest of the No Shame crew and listeners. Thank you very much, Paddy, and look forward to listening to the rest of your upcoming interviews.
That's one of the most serious questions that we've ever had in here, Robin. How dare you say that?
Absolutely,
That's a huge question, isn't it?
So we weren't.
I used to play for Gloucester, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
maybe I did.
So we weren't going to play that, but then we got another voice comment in, which I'll just play it.
Simon, shut your mouth or I'll shove them Brussels sprouts down your throat. Paddy, John Random here. Quick question for you. Who do you see as the next potential big star coming out of Ireland in the UFC? Who's he able to be in 2018?
Do you know what? That's the great thing about that Limor app. Because if somebody says something, somebody can literally say, like, it's off the bat.
Yeah.
If you like, shut your mouth, it just doesn't have the same effect as someone saying, shut up you, but anyway. And going on with the question. For the Irish Viking, 100%, I'm definitely 100% having Brussels sprouts. Only if they're cooked in the water that the ham was cooked in.
Yes.
That's the only way it can be done. You have to put real butter on it, and it has to be on that.
Crucial.
Like, come with the diet time, we used to mash Brussels sprouts up after having them in there and eat them in a bowl. Now it looks like dog shit, but it's like, and it's God. I love it. I told people to do that and they'd be like, because it being Brussels sprouts. How are you with Brussels sprouts, man?
Generally I'm not, but at Christmas when they're done like that and they're done properly,
you need proper Brussels sprouts. Like that's
Yeah.
it's like eating mini cabbages. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All at one lump, one at a time. Goodness.
Get them greens into it.
Oh, I love a bit of Brussels sprouts. Great question, Irish Viking. And happy Christmas.
And so just on Johnny Gangster's question then.
What a legend.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think there's a lot of talent coming up now. But to me, and I'd probably be biased saying this as well, because he's one of my close friends and I trained him for the whole lot of his career, would be Richie. Richie Smullen, because Richie has devastating skill set, right? Regarding grappling, he's viciously aggressive when it comes to grappling. He has heavy hands, heavy striking as well, and he's not what's out there now. There's a lot of flashy guys out there, if you must say, where Richie is. When Richie walks out and bam, you can hear that people are like, they're behind him because like he's them. He's one of them. You know what I mean? He's coming from Marklow. He's putting that hard work in. He's done no corners. He puts 10 hours in a day, and people see that and they resonate. And to me, when he comes out and people cheer, it's more of that like real passionate, like we love him, he's one of us kind of cheer. Now there is like then you have like guys like Dylan Took and stuff like that. Now Dylan Took is an exceptional talent. His skill set is unreal. Now the idea of him keeping it together, I hope he does that. Like I think he's matured a little bit the last little while, and he definitely needs that for his career, because that's important. Because when it comes down to sitting and talking to people, and sometimes you're not getting on with someone, but you have to mediate and talk and deal with people and stuff like that. That's a huge part of the game as well. Unfortunately, it's not just skills all the time, you know. There's a lot of components that come into the game, and there's a lot of boxes you have to tick. Who else? Blaine O'Driscoll just had a rapid fight as well. Sinead Kavanagh, killing her out there. Danny Nealon coming up. Rhys McKee.
Yeah.
Rhys McKay is another, like I just mentioned all SPG fighters there. Oh man, it's like
I'll mention another one, and it was great to see him back getting a huge win the other day. Philip Mulpeter. I mean, what a guy to, in terms of like the most unlucky fighters that you could come across. He was away for a while, but when he was fighting on Cage Warriors, he had late pullouts, he had close decisions. I mean, the talent is definitely there for him to go to the UFC and do well. Hopefully now he gets a run of luck, because he definitely deserves it. And going back as to what you were saying about Richie Smullen, when I was doing the book with John and going out to SBG to do those sessions, as I mentioned, every day I was there, Richie Smullen was the first face I saw on the mats. I mean, I think he must be there 24/7.
Oh, he is.
The effort the guy puts in, it's incredible.
He drives up and stays there all day. Like he literally, like I even had him down. He was when John's gym closed to get renovation for a little while. They were training here, and he was just, not that he was uncomfortable here, but it's home. There, he has that home feeling in the gym down there, and that's important. You know what I mean? Because I think at that stage of your career, you need to be putting in buckets and buckets and buckets of work. Not saying that you don't at the end of your career, but I think I always say to my guys, it's like you're able to fill a bucket and then you get to go.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Don't half fill it. Don't fill it with a little bit of water and be in too much of a hurry to get going. Fill the bucket as full as you can with loads of knowledge, as much as you can. Your takedowns, your escapes, you're against the wall, you're striking, your media presence. All of this stuff is a big part of the stuff that goes in the bucket. And you get to decide whether you can be really, really good and then say, okay, I'm going to start fighting really, really good guys. Or you can do a half-assed and try to fill the bucket while you're on the journey. And it's a hard graft, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. And going back to Mulpeter again, I mean, coming back after that long a layoff and submitting a guy like Ali Arish is like, that's as big a statement as you can make on the European scene. I know Ali Arish is pushing on though, but still, he's legit.
It's his style is, the thing I like about Ali Arish's style is that I remember seeing him fighting Arnie, the Ice Viking, in Cage Contender in the basketball arena. That was years ago, and he literally was in like a Division 1 wrestling kind of position, hands on his knees, and every time Arnie came, he shot in and took him down. He knew he was trying to take him down, was trying to take his head off, but he didn't really do that against Phil's fight. Actually, there in saying it, he shot loads, but he didn't get as many takedowns and control as I seen him getting before. But he's such a hard fighter. He's the fighter you don't want to fight. He's the guy that takes you down, and like, no disrespect, but he holds you. He beats you up a little tiny bit, just enough to keep you there, and it's very hard to, you're kind of going on the back foot in a fight like that already, because you're fighting to have to stop somebody else from doing what they've been doing for years.
Yeah. So if Phil can get 3 fights under his belt 2018, he'd definitely be my tip to be the next in the UFC, you know. Well, certainly to go there at some stage, you know.
Definitely. And with the Port Arlington, the SBG Port Arlington, he's at the opening and is going great down there as well. From him and his Skirfeld Alvina and his brother Stu as well have put it together, and it's I know he has good boxing coaches down there now. He has He's Kieran Davern down training with him at times. He has good little stable of guys as well, which I think we're at that stage now where a lot of the guys that you've probably witnessed coming up, somebody that we grew up like in a way, you know, like we couldn't get to a stage and like I think 29 wasn't old in MMA when that's what I am now, so it wasn't old when I was starting, but it's a little bit old now because the youth are getting so good, you know. Guys that are 22, 23 now are solid, where if you were 29 you would have got away with it a few years ago because the up-merging talent wasn't as good, you know. So it's a big thing. It's a big thing.
Yeah, hopefully next year is a big one for him now.
I'd love to see him getting it next year.
Bit of trivia. There was another guy, one of the early guys on Limor actually was involved, and he's the landlord of Port Arlington, and he did an interview with the Honey Badger.
Oh, did
about
he?
a year ago. It's brilliant. He's a really interesting character.
Very
his whole
good.
story is just
The Honey Badger, yeah.
It's
The Honey
such
Badger
an
doesn't
appropriate
give a
nickname,
fuck.
like yeah.
Oh, brilliant name for it, brilliant. Like that would have been a slight one there against would have been John, what's his name?
John Maguire. Yeah.
That would have been the one that would have sent him to Cage Warriors. And if I was standing cage side, and I think he just spent too long defending the single leg against the fence, and he got a little bit comfortable there, and he lost it on a decision. But that was his fight to go to the UFC, and if there was somebody that I could go back and say like, who deserved to come on the journey, who deserved to come on that, it definitely would have been. Definitely Phil, you know.
You just missed out. I think Maguire's experience at that point in the fight probably just counted for a little bit more, but again, I don't think anybody could have complained if that decision went to Phil's way as well, you know.
No, I'd say it's very hard for Maguire fighting that fight as well, because it's very hard to get motivated for something that's dropping back. You see that happening all the time, so I think a lot of coaches need to kind of see that, as well as the way you see skills, the way you see good things, bad things, and making decisions for fighters, because if you're not getting better, you should probably get out of this game.
Yeah, you have to take it into account.
100%. Punching each other, so you know, if you're not getting better at it, you better do something.
Yeah. Also, on this week, 2 years ago, since Nate Diaz called out Conor McGregor after that fight.
No way, that's not 2 years ago, is it?
Yeah, where he says to the mic, Conor McGregor, you're taking everything I work for, motherfucker.
That's it.
That one.
Perfect.
Taking it, you know, I'm the real money fighting. That's what it is, something like that, isn't it? That 2 years already.
2 years, I saw that yesterday. Ariel Helwani tweeting that,
Man. The years are just getting faster. Go on, boy.
A lot's happened since.
That was probably the best decision he ever made in his career by saying that, because he's probably tripled or quadrupled his net worth since that interview, I'd say, to what he is. So, and that's the fight game. You know, like he's a skilled fighter. He knows that he could call somebody out that's a skilled fighter and make a lot of money on it, because people are going to pay that. Now, if Nate Diaz was somebody that couldn't fight, I don't think anybody would have tuned in to pay that fight, you know. So that's why the idea of the foundation is essential. You know what I mean? 2 bleeding years, man.
Yeah, he's a great fighter. I mean, just to add to what you said there, Jeremy Stevens tried it, didn't he, in that other press conference?
That's how not to do it.
And he's most known for being, who the fuck is that guy? That's mental.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'd say if he could rewind time and not say that there, he would have been like, he's like, I'm going to say it. And all of a sudden he's speaking, his buddy said, say nothing, back up, we're nothing to do with you. That's inside his head, you know what I mean? You're on your own. That was it. His dignity just left the room, I'd say, after that.
You could tell when he opened his mouth that this is not going to end well for you, you know. Something bad's going to happen here.
He even stuttered a little bit, you know what I mean? Like literally background noise. Hello darkness, my old friend. That's what it would have been there, wouldn't it? After that got said, everyone else is laughing, he's just head down. It's
become the kind of classic Conor McGregor moment of all the press conferences and stuff. That one probably stands out above the rest.
I don't know where the man gets the, like, Nike or something should hire Conor for one-liners, you know. And it started off with the don't have to get ready if you stay ready if you don't have to get ready or whatever. Like that was the huge one. Then it was take part, take over. Then it was, who the fuck is that guy? You know what I mean? It's like bigger than just do it.
Even the timing, just like, you know, he just had to sit there and then bang.
A little second it needs that sizzle, you know what I mean? But like, that's Irish banter is very good. When I say Irish, I mean Dublin banter.
So
Cork lads really like that.
I think it's different. It's the Dublin banter is definitely, it's sharp. It's very sharp. Yeah.
It's the building sites up here that get, you know what I mean? That's where it trickles out building sites under the fence.
It's a high standard, I give you that.
Nice one. But that's a huge compliment.
It is, very humble of me, isn't it?
Yeah, high standard of banter.
The Carolina Panthers up for sale this week, and P. Diddy has come out on Instagram saying he wants to buy them.
What did?
Carolina Panthers, NFL team.
Right, sorry, because I heard something else about P. Diddy this morning. Did you not hear about that? His girlfriend or something, his ex-girlfriend or something, put a picture up in a birthday suit, and he like kind of abused that. It was the Scouse Ma problems. Do you follow that page? No.
No.
You have to follow. Do you follow that page?
No.
Oh man, follow that page. Scouse Ma problems. Brilliant. Goes on about all the stuff like, if my fella said this is what I did with him. If I this,
Right.
it's great. It is. But she had something on it this morning about P. Diddy. Go on about that. He's going to buy the pants.
Well, he wants to. He said he'd be the best owner ever. He claims he'd have the best halftime entertainment.
And this is my message to you, P. Diddy, yeah? If you had Pac killed, I'm going to have nothing to do with you anymore, because you robbed the world of something beautiful. You know what I mean? And that was the idea the other day, man.
Yeah, I watched that one.
That's
Yeah,
what he said, like, that P. Diddy had Tupac killed. That little greasy motherfucker. You know what I mean? That.
yeah.
Like, of all of the guys, that's the least talented would be him, you know? Like, to kill Tupac is probably the worst thing he ever could have did to his career and his life, I think. So I don't care who he's buying now, Robin.
Yeah.
I'm only messed
But he's talking about bringing in Colin Kaepernick as well, isn't he, as a quarterback?
That's right. Yeah. Bit of competition, he said.
Yeah, that'd be good to see.
I'm not literally not into NFL at all.
Yeah.
You, loads of Irish people are
Yeah.
now.
So
Yeah.
Cam Newton is the Panthers' current quarterback.
Right.
But there's a guy, Colin Kaepernick, who played for the San Francisco 49ers for the last few years and played. Did he win a Super Bowl? He certainly played in a Super Bowl. And he just hasn't been able to get a job this season because he probably drove the campaign to stand up for black rights. He kind of started that thing of kneeling for the anthem.
Down thing,
And all of a sudden then he lost his job and no other teams have hired him. So I mean, there's no doubt that he's good enough to be in the NFL, if not as a starting quarterback, at least as a backup. So he's unemployed
because of that.
You
How
know.
do people not stand up like that? Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's
So this could be his way back in, hopefully. Yeah, be a good thing.
that's what
Yeah.
a big rich man to come in and grab it. You know what I mean? And say, you know, I'm a fix. You know what, P. Diddy, you're all right.
Take it all
It's
back.
called Love now.
No way.
He's changed his name again, yeah.
Fuck off, P. Diddy. You're done.
Just on League of Ireland football, there's an American owner trying to buy Dundalk. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's something Dundalk need to tread carefully with, because an American group of American businessmen coming into the League of Ireland, I don't think they're going to do it as a hobby or for the novelty or the sake of a bit of entertainment. People like that coming in are coming in for profit. I know they've got a track record of being involved with other clubs globally as well, but I think Dundalk need to be careful with who they're getting involved with. If the structure is right and if the intentions are good, it could be fantastic for them, you know. And I suppose the biggest thing for Dundalk is doing up Oriel Park and improving the facilities there, because they've made huge strides in the last few years. But yeah, if I was Dundalk supporters, I'd be kind of doing something similar to what Cork City did back 2009, 2010, where they got a supporters trust in place and ended up getting a few hundred supporters on board to put money in and have a fund there just in case things went tits up, as they did when one of these investment groups came in, played around with it for a few months, decided that they weren't really interested anymore, pulled out, left the club in hundreds of €1,000 debt and with a huge tax bill. And thankfully the fans were there in the end, and they had the supporters trust in place to save it before it actually went into extinction. So great news for Dundalk if it's handled right, and if some of the people who are already there maybe stay involved and make sure that, you know, police this thing and make sure it's not kind of going to go pear-shaped. But yeah, I think the fans would be probably best served to maybe get themselves organised just in case, you know.
You don't want to end up in that situation where Cardiff City, where we are man Vincent Tan, isn't it? Like,
Exactly,
all of
yeah,
a sudden, Dundalk are walking around in pink strips and bleeding
Yeah.
ducks on their crest. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You do what you're told. That's because that's the attitude with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
When
yeah.
someone comes in and they don't have the know-how, they have the money. People think that money, like, to me, like, money is a tool to a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? But know-how and knowledge it trumps all of that.
Yeah.
If you just have money, you're screwed. I
Yeah.
think so. You have to have something else to come with it.
yeah.
If don't like, I don't know anything about the situation, but if it was me and I was Dundalk, I'd be very, very, very careful of what's going on.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, because they're in a good place as it is. Dundalk, they've had a phenomenal few years, and the European runs have brought
They've
in
got
some
strong
good
the
money.
last little.
They have, yeah, and you know, it would be a shame for this, you know, proposed takeover to ruin all that. They're already in a good place from what I can see, but if they think that this is going to make them stronger again, fantastic. And the League of Ireland does need investment, regardless of where it's going to come from. It does need investment. But yeah, I mean, traditionally, do you make a profit from the League of Ireland? No, you don't. So that would have the alarm bells ringing for sure. Yeah,
they're a victim of their own success in many ways. You know, lost a lot of their players, and now anyone looking outside Ireland would probably think they'd probably profile the league much higher than it actually is because of their exploits against the big teams. So they are an attractive offer. I think an American owner gets over here, it's like, whoa, this is actually the setup. Particularly Oriel Park, like, this is a shithole. Let's be honest.
It has,
But
it has a charm in kind of. I like the old school grounds like that. I just kind of, I suppose, coming up with a League of Ireland background, going to football. Like, I know I always like the shitty old grounds. That's probably has a charm for me. But it's, if you're trying to attract new fans, bringing kids to places like that, or United Park, it has to be said for balance as well, is another dump. With all due respect to everyone involved with Drogheda United, but they're not the kind of grounds you're gonna generate new fans.
It's no Palace Stadium, lads. Let's say that.
It's no Turner's Cross, Paddy.
It's not.
Well, you're missing half of your stadium at the minute.
It's just the roof. We'll get it back. I blew up the road.
It's in the neighbour's garden. Looking out, you're like, the stadium's in the garden, lad.
Some of it was in the houses behind the ground. When the storm of Ophelia happened.
How did you get on with that stuff? Because did you get hit with a bad?
Not where I was. I mean, well, we stayed in and there was nothing major. My wheelie bin blew over. That was the hardest thing that we had to deal with.
But that's tragic.
The school down the road, the gym, the roof of the gym blew off. Yeah. There was some, and one of my wife's friends, she lives next door to Simon Coveney, the Taoiseach. She texted us that morning saying Simon Coveney had knocked at the door and said, "Apologies, but my shed's in your back garden." So yeah, there was a couple of mad things happened around, but we weren't too bad. Yeah.
We haven't met anybody that's actually like, oh no, it wasn't near me. I'm like, I think that was a rumour. That storm was a big rumour, is what it was. They just all wanted a day off.
I know one guy, and he had like the curtains closed the whole day. Like, he lives south side of Dublin. He was sort of, hiding from it. And someone said, "What's it like outside?" He was afraid to look outside, so he kind of just put the camera behind the curtains and took a picture, like, and then looked, and there was like the sun was shining. There was a rainbow going over. Like,
that's what I was. Look, we battened down the hatches of the gym and all I did, like, and I'm like, right, close down because if someone got hurt and all of it, and I'm looking out and there's like birds twittering and all, and I'm like, this is embarrassing. You know what I mean?
Twitter was brilliant. The interaction with all the Irish, like, and even. Like, it says a lot about Ireland when, the Taoiseach has to come out and go, "Please, everybody, take this serious."
It's like the announcer, and it's like, they're not taking it serious. You know what I mean? Everyone like, what he was on about? We don't listen to you as boys about art. You know?
The night before it was due to come in, I mean, we were in bed and my wife said to me, "We didn't do the shopping, you might want to go out there to Tesco and get a few things in just in case." So I got out of bed, went up to the Tesco up the road, and it was like Armageddon. This was a 10:30 on a Sunday night. Like, the place was packed like Christmas Eve. The shelves were half empty. It was crazy. Like, look, you have to take it seriously because obviously people lost their lives as well. I think there was two or three people died, unfortunately. But yeah, in terms of the whole thing of be prepared, it was probably a bit over dramatised. All right.
So I'll finish on this. This now, bit of a not a down subject, but a subject that I'll be passionate about. Was the homeless crisis, where everyone seems to be going on about, which is great. I've actually heard more about the homeless crisis now than I ever have, which is brilliant. So I know from Dublin's point of view, I know yesterday there was 19 TDs made it into the Dáil yesterday to think about the biggest problem that we have in the whole country. I think it was Munster, Minister Munster, I think it was, that Sinn Féin candidate, and anyway, stood up and said that our daughter was given money to a homeless man, and she came back and she was like, "Mammy, he's crying, he's so cold, he's just so alone." He said that nobody cares about him and stuff like that, and she said, like, she was nearly crying saying it. And I remember saying to myself, like just thinking to myself yesterday, like, being so like hit by it, like, imagine being so cold, because I know when you're cold, the idea is, oh man, I can't wait to go home and I'm going to heat myself up and stuff like that. But to be in a situation where you are sitting down and you're cold and you're not going left and you're not going right, and even when you do go, you know that the idea of being back in that circle again is crazy. I said I'd like ask your own opinion as a journalist, like, what the fuck's going on with it all, man? Like, it's absolutely mental, isn't it? Especially when it comes to Christmas. They're saying nobody will be on the streets for Christmas. Alright, if you do it for Christmas, how do you undo that? Like, did he walk in after the Christmas and be like, right, time's up, back to the situation where you are, because nobody's looking at the idea of it. And I'm guilty of it myself. Like, I try to do as much as I can. As I see a guy sitting outside a garage, buy him a sandwich, you know what I mean? And it's not like you don't put up in your social media, you just do these things. Yeah, that's just the way you do it. If it comes to like after Christmas and stuff like that, what did he do? Did he walk in and tell these guys like, sorry, yous are out again? I think it was 8,000 people are homeless in Ireland, and 3,000 of them are children. Like, some people have been born into a homeless situation where they'll never they were born homeless. They were born living in a hotel and stuff like that. And what a crazy start to life, especially in like when we have Apple owning the country, like billions and like millions of. How does this work? Like, how is that not the first thing on the table where they all sit down and they say, right, lads, this is crazy. Let's fix these 1,000 houses or whatever. And they're saying the houses are being built and we have to wait for them. So I don't understand, because they can do this stuff when it's needed. I know a guy personally, and his daughter trains with me and works with me, and he builds cabins, you know, the modular cabins. He said that he can build them 10 grand a cabin, you know what I mean? And 3 people could live in one of them. And he said that he would build them all for nothing. He wasn't busy at the time, and the council would pay for the material and stuff like that, and they would help a lot of this homeless in a little bit of land. They just had to give the land and they would build it. And they said no. They said no, like, no, it doesn't help the situation, it doesn't help the idea going towards it. But I know for a fact, if Ireland's government or Irish state let a lot of people kick together, I'll be one of them. I'll put a few €1,000 into it. I know loads of other people that would, and build something like that. But the idea with something like that is that when people are looking at it, like government type people on the outside, it's like, oh, that's going to be dirty, that's going to be this, going to be that. Some people have to, I think people need to live somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a big problem. And what's it like? Is it the same in Cork? Because I know a guy died in Cork.
Yeah, a woman, I think it was, only a few weeks ago. Yeah.
And I seen another thing that was a woman and a man and a 2-year-old spotted in a doorway, freezing under a blanket in Cork City.
Yeah. It's not as prevalent in Cork as it is in Dublin, purely because of numbers. You don't see it as much. But I suppose there's several layers to it. There's, you know, people who have hit rock bottom and maybe have problem with substance abuse, who are living on the streets, and then there's the families who've been forced into shelters or hotels because they've lost their home and stuff like that. But either way, it's a massive problem. I mean, I suppose you know yourself with your son, you become more aware of the importance of a child getting a proper upbringing when you become a father yourself. And the same as myself, you just, when you see a child on the streets or you see a child in a hotel, especially this time of year at Christmas, it's just not right. And the only thing about it at the moment, I suppose, is it's become a talking point more than ever before. So at least it's in the conversation, and you know, we're not going to let it go by the sounds of it. And maybe I'm approaching this naively, but it seems like it hasn't been a priority for the government, where it should be, in my opinion, top of the list. You know, whatever else they're doing, no person should be living on the streets, no person should be without a home. You know, at least get the people on the streets into shelters, get the people who've lost their homes back up again, you know, in a position to try and get back into a house or somewhere, some permanent accommodation. But it's horrendous, it's really bad. I don't know what the solution is, but certainly it seems like it needs to be promoted up the hierarchy of what the government are doing in terms of priorities. Yeah,
it was only last year that a guy put a post up, and I remember I would have been, I remember being a kid, right, and this is, homelessness is a long time in Dublin. My mum used to give me £1, right, the dare money I used to call it, right, and I remember only being about 6 or 7, and we were walking through town. We came over the Halfpenny Bridge, and on that street walking up, I don't know what it's called, but just after the Halfpenny Bridge, straight ahead of you, there's like a little market kind of thing there, you know what it is?
Yeah.
Like, people would all be sitting down, man, and I remember going by a guy and he was homeless, and this was, we're talking more than probably 23 years ago, and I seen the guy and I got £1 out my mum every week, and I was going to give it to him, and I walked by, and I remember thinking for the whole time we went to that street, and on the way back I gave him the £1 and I stuck it into the box. And now my mum actually gave it out to me a little bit, because she was like, what'd you do that for? You're not going to be able to get it back like that. I'm not giving you another one, that's the only one. But I remember even thinking back then that struck a chord in me, that somebody was sitting on the street, and I remember thinking even when I was walking up that street that they don't have a house to go to, like, and I remember feeling so guilty as a kid. Up till now, 29 years of age, and it's not only that this, like, back then people were on the street, and that was only small, but now it's getting worse as the situation. I think I remember a guy said to me, why don't they open up the abandoned buildings and let people live in them and let them, like, pay, so if they're on their social welfare or whatever, they take a certain percentage of that, and that's it. But then I was like, yeah, well, a lot of these people have addiction problems and all of this stuff, and that creates one big house that has a load of people in a situation. Yeah, and, you know, but then you can fix them things. And I thought about it again. And every week maybe you have to do a drug test or do some sort of test that keeps you in that accommodation, because the thing is, it's very easy to say, or people that are alcoholics or people that are drug addicts, and that's all, they're the only people that are on there. There's not 8,000 drunks and drug addicts that are homeless on the street. The reason why people get homeless in this country, and this is it, is they sign on to rent allowance, right? And they're a family. If they have rent allowance is a fee that gets paid, that pays people's rent, like a supplement. And what happens is the mom and the dad can't live in the same house because you can't have a full family. The whole system is made up for it to collapse. That's what I think. You're not allowed to have a family unit in a house that's being paid by the government, because you're now a family. You should be able to provide. Now, when I do agree with that as well, but then they say, yeah, well, then go out to work and get a job and then pay what, €1,500 for rent while you're trying to save for a house, or while you're on a council list that's lasting 10 years for people. People are trying to get a council house lasting 10 years. For them 10 years, that man, whoever it is, has to go and get work. They lose work. It's €1,500 to rent something. All of a sudden, a family and somebody that has no problem going out working 9 to 5, has no drug problem, no alcohol problem, loses their job. Within a month or two, you're homeless. Because €1,500 when you have nothing is a lot of money to come about for rent. So it's not like people are refusing to pay rent. It's that people are stuck on this tightrope for about 10 years, waiting on the council to give them an accommodation that is affordable, that is made in a system that's going to benefit a lot of the people in the country. If it was one of theirs, that's what I say. If it was one of their nieces or nephews on the street or something like that, you can bet your bottom dollar. Go to all of the homeless people in Ireland, and you will not find one of them people homeless that's connected to somebody that's in government or something like that doesn't have a drug habit or hasn't been cut off from the family or something. You won't find it.
Yeah, well, at least the conversation is happening now, and hopefully it's a step in the right direction.
That's savage. Paul, it's a pleasure to have you in today. Good interview, you for once.
Yeah,
absolute legend, my man.
Thanks,
Thank
Paddy.
you very much.
Pleasure.
Pleasure.
Thank you, man.